Great. Hello, everyone. Dami here. I'm the CEO at PayHippo, and today I'm going to be speaking about financing a sustainable Africa for tomorrow. So I was born in Nigeria, lived there for 16 years, and then I moved over to Ireland. Do we have any Irish people in the crowd? Yes? No? Anyway, Irish people are fantastic. After that, I schooled and worked in the UK. Then I moved back to Nigeria, where I worked for a couple of private equity funds, then back to the UK. I worked for a debt provider, and currently I basically run PayHippo, and I spend time between both the UK and Nigeria. So what you're seeing now is a newspaper article from 1984. And the headline says, "No more blackout." So this is from a Nigerian newspaper, right? So at that point in time, right, we would get about 4 hours of electricity every day from the national grid. And then for the rest of the time, homes and businesses would need to provide themselves with power, basically. So almost every home and business has either a petrol or a diesel generator that they are constantly running. Now, petrol and diesel generators are expensive to run, and also they're bad for the environment because of the CO2 emissions. So this was the problem that we had 40 years ago, 1984. This is a newspaper article from 2024, which is basically this year, 40 years after. You can see the similar headline, "Power Blackout, Nigerians Express Frustration." So this is a big challenge that we have faced as a country, and there are other African countries as well that face similar challenges. So why hasn't the problem been resolved? I mean, in summary, right, the infrastructure to generate, transmit, and distribute energy is just not there, right? And it's going to cost hundreds of billions to be spent over a long period of time to get that infrastructure up. So it's a problem, but at the same time, it creates a massive opportunity. And that's an opportunity to leapfrog building out, fossil fuel-based infrastructure and just going straight into clean energy. And there are a few instances in the past in Africa where we have seen this play out. An example is with the mobile phone space. Most African countries never really got to a point where they had built out far-reaching fixed line telephone infrastructure. Right? In the 2000s, mobile phones started to become popular. And then what happened was that almost every African country just basically leapfrogged the fixed line stage and just went straight into mobile phones. And as of today, there are about, close to 700 million active mobile phones in Africa. And I mean, this is a population of about say 1.2 billion people. So that's about roughly 60% penetration. In countries like Nigeria, you have close to 200 million active phones and a population of about like 220 million. So the penetration rates are very high. In addition to the social impact that was created, we also had like loads of billion-dollar companies too that were basically started up during that period. Second example is in the fintech space. Again, in most African countries, right, we never really built out like far-reaching physical banking infrastructure. We basically leapfrogged that and went straight into fintech, basically, digital. So everyone is basically using their phones for transactions, and this is really driving financial inclusion. As at 10 years ago, the rate of financial inclusion in Africa was about 23%, and now it's close to 50%, and that's basically purely been driven by fintech. Again, in addition to the social impact created, you also have loads of like billion-dollar fintechs that have been created from Africa. Now, there is an opportunity here to replicate this in the energy space, and there is an opportunity to fund this. So, sub-Saharan Africa, basically, is to spend about $300 billion every year to meet the goals that it's set at COP28. So that's kind of like a $2 trillion funding opportunity. In countries like Nigeria, we have an estimated 20 million generator sets. So these generator sets are currently filling the demand-supply gap with what we get from the national grid and what people actually need. The opportunity here really is to replace these generator sets with clean, with alternative sources of energy that are clean, especially solar. Estimated, that's like a $70 billion financing opportunity. And again, the country is growing at a very fast rate. It's projected to be the third most populated country by 2050, just after India and China. So from an opportunity perspective, right, there's a massive opportunity here. So where exactly is finance required? And I'll talk through these as we go. So financing is required in the distribution and retail space. What we find is that the major barrier to homes and businesses adopting solar systems is that upfront cost. So basically, people need access to seamless finance, so they can buy a solar system and spread the costs out over a period of time. Another thing that we see as well is that the installers and dealers of solar systems tend to lack access to seamless financing, which will enable them to buy stock in bulk. On the utility side, we're starting to see loads of microgrids popping up, right? And they're basically providing power to clusters of homes and businesses, primarily using solar. But they need access to more debt so they can scale. And then when these clean energy assets are up, right, the assets need access to the voluntary carbon markets. So stuff like carbon credits, renewable energy certificates, stuff that is kind of, I would say, a bit basic in the more kind of Western countries, but aren't predominantly available in African countries. And then, yeah, startup funding. Less than 1% of global climate startup funding is going to African startups. There are loads of brilliant, startups that are popping up and are solving, problems that can, create, a very big impact in addition to generating, financial returns. But more funding basically needs to be channeled to those startups. So PayHippo, that's my company, and effectively what we do is we are on locking climate finance in Africa. What do? We provide AI-driven debt financing. So we have built technology that basically enables us to underwrite a loan within a relatively short period of time. From the application to the disbursement process, we could do this in a day and do it, relatively well from a risk perspective. And this is a result of a credit engine that we've been building for about 5 years now. So through our credit engine, end users can get a quick loan to buy a solar system and spread the costs out over a 12-month period. Solar installers as well can get stock finance from us, use this to buy, to basically buy like equipment in bulk. You could buy like 500 panels, 500 batteries, whatever, and repay us over a period of up to 6 months. We're building an aggregation platform that would give clean energy assets in Africa access to the voluntary carbon markets. One of the barriers that these assets currently face with getting on the voluntary carbon markets is scale. A lot of them are at a relatively small scale, and at the scale that they are operating at, the economics don't really work for them to go through that process of getting issued with carbon certificate. In addition to the financial side of things, it's a very cumbersome process. So we're building an aggregation platform that basically pulls these assets together, and then we would basically drive them through that process of getting issued with carbon certificates. And this could potentially be really big for these companies because it's an additional revenue stream, and it's also revenue in either USD or like euros or in a more kind of stable currency. Where we're going really, right, we're looking to get to a point where we are blending our financing business with our carbon credit business and kind of like using that to just offer like a really, really low-cost loan to a borrower. Our dream one day is to be able to, offer a 0% loan, but that's basically, driven by the income, that we get from the carbon credits. Just a bit more about us. We're backed by investors from across the globe. And then, financing a sustainable Africa for tomorrow starts today. So we'll be glad to see people join the journey here, and let's do this. Thank you.